And we're live. What's happening, everyone? Nicky Hawkins, West Ham Fan TV, back once again with Friday Night Pint. I've got Brian in with me. It's podcast crew in tonight. Dan will be in a
Podcast
little
crew.
bit. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm well, man. I'm well. Good to be back on Friday Night Pint. It's been a busy one, you know what I mean? Obviously just had a kid, so been off for a little while, but
Yeah, we
so
spoke
just
a
my
bit about
son's
that on
just
the
been born
podcast,
3
man.
weeks, so it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's nice, man. We spoke a little bit about that on the podcast. Congratulations. And I'm sure everyone's going to give you a bit of congratulations on here. Listen, we're going to be taking some questions tonight. So we're going to roll with a subject and then get your questions in. Dan's going to be joining us a little bit later. The other boys are away tonight, getting ready for Chelsea on Sunday. We might be having another pint, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But listen, grab your pints because you're going to need it. We're going to need a good alcoholic drink when we get to this this subject that we're going to be starting with today. Right, do you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to leave a link in the comments here. So if you're in the comments on Friday Night Pint, you'll see a link here, and we'll leave a link in the description down below. There's a new fan zone around. It's gone on Facebook and YouTube. I can see that. There's a new fan zone around for the Chelsea game. They're going to be showing the Women's World Cup final as well. We'll be in there. We'll be milling around. So come and have a look. Yeah, get a ticket on the thingy on the link in the description. Yeah, we'll be having a look in there. It's the orbital, you know, where the slide is and everything. Yeah, they've got new fan zones running there all season. So they've sent us the link and invited us down. So, yeah, come and have a look. Come and meet us if you want to come and meet us before the game on Sunday. It's going to be running from 11 o'clock. Yeah, there we go. Grab a ticket. Yes, this story is it's come a little bit from left field. Obviously, we know that Paqueta has been, you know, subject to bids from Manchester City. You know, I didn't want to obviously lose him, but I was sort of getting subjected to losing him, if I'm honest. And I was thinking to myself, like, you know, maybe there is life after Lucas Paqueta, as there's life after Declan Rice and all that. And then all of a sudden, this morning, this has just come out of left field. It seems that the deal's stalled a little bit. It's not completely off, but it's stalled because he's being investigated for betting irregularities over in Brazil. Apparently, he's protesting his innocence. He says he's got nothing to do with it. But by golly, it's never easy being a West Ham fan, is it, Brian?
No, absolutely. And look, we spoke about this earlier on in the week with the podcast. I was looking at it today, and the thing is, it's changed throughout the day, hasn't it? So at the beginning of the day, we were hearing that, you know, there's unlikely to go through. There'll be a 10% chance of it going through. A lot of us and the fan base were speculating as to why that could be. There was a lot of different stuff banded around, but I was kind of leaning with the thought that maybe our club were holding out for that big money, that 85 plus Cole Palmer, which would have been, you know, great business, but also very shrewd business, which Man City were unlikely to kind of accept. So I thought, you know what, actually, let's give the club some credit for really sticking to their guns on this one. Then obviously, as the day progressed and then this news comes out, you know, Man City obviously have had all their issues with FFP and all of the speculations around how they conduct their business. So they're doing their real due diligence and going through everything with a fine tooth comb. And then this comes out from nowhere about this betting thing. And quite quick after the what's his name? Brentford striker, Tony. You know what? 2-3 months after that, which, you know, took a long while to get investigated, but on the back of that, he got a big hefty ban. So there's a lot of spotlight on it, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out. Because on one hand, the deal's not dead, but on the other hand, it's very, very, very unlikely that anything's gonna happen from a Man City point of view. But I'm interested to see what the blowback's going to be and how and if that will affect us.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd, isn't it? I mean, if I remember the Tony case, it took so long to investigate. I don't know how long they've obviously been investigating this. I don't know how how many years, how many months, how many, how long this has been known about. But I'm guessing it's just a newly found thing because, Man City were willing to start putting in bids. West Ham were discussing it. I mean, unless West Ham knew off the record and they was trying to maybe cut their losses before anything like that come out. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past David Sullivan, David Sullivan, or any of the ball, to be quite honest, Karen Brady. Yeah, maybe it's something like that. I don't know. I mean, this has just come out of left field. I've heard stories. I'll go through the story in a minute that I've read in the newspaper. I mean, you can take that with a pinch of salt. But it's just, it seems to have come from nowhere. When you're starting to look at this sort of stuff, is it the reason that Leon wanted to get rid? You know what I mean? Like, had that not come out yet, but they knew about it privately. I've heard it's not him; it's family members. But didn't Kieran Trippier get banned for something similar, providing information to a family member or a friend or something like that? But yeah, absolutely, Thomas. Sorry, Stefan. Innocent before being proven guilty. Obviously, there's a big investigation come through, but there's something there. There's something that has at least stalled Man City's bid. I mean, they are actively looking for a player in terms of getting a replacement for De Bruyne. De Bruyne's out for 4 months, so for them to stall this when it looked like, all intents and purposes, they was going to be up in their bid and. There's something there. Now, I can't work out, right, in the short term, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. I'm definitely with you with that. Because going back to, your last point, if you look at it, it felt like something was going on due to the fact that Man City are one of those teams that like to get their business done. This started to get the feel that it was dragging out a little bit. It was well documented. Obviously, De Bruyne is out until Christmas, so they were in the markets to get their business done. They made it quite clear that Paqueta was their man. So, it was kind of like any day now they'll come in with a bid. In the background, you've got us like trying to broker these deals with other potential players on the back of us potentially selling Paqueta. So with all of those dealings going quite well in terms of player negotiations, the guy from Montpellier and Kudos and those two in particular, earmarked as potential replacements. Now we're looking at a situation where if Paqueta does stay as a result of this, do we still finish and complete conducting the business? And if so, how would that then impact the squad?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, it's pure speculation on our part, really, in terms of like how far along this is. It seemed to be going well. It seemed to be going like they was resigned to losing him. As you say, they've scouted all these players on and looked at these potential replacements. So God knows how long it's been going on for. I was, do you know what, with the name Cole Palmer, especially what I see in the Super League the other night and the Community Shield, I was starting to become quite in favour of the deal, if I'm honest with you. When I'm thinking to myself, like the position that Paqueta plays, you got these players, possibly Cole Palmer coming in with a buyback clause. After seeing him, the performances from him in the last week or two, if we could, if they're talking about moving Bowen up front and possibly shifting him into the one of the wings, I was quite in favour of it. I was thinking it's an exciting prospect. It's an exciting prospect to have someone like Cole Palmer coming to West Ham. So, I was starting to be swayed by it, because I'm thinking to myself, yeah, we've got Alvarez now, we've got Ward-Prowse, we've got Souček, we've got Fornals that can do a job there. We've got all of these players that can play in midfield now. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if he's thinking about shifting, not that I'm saying that that's the right move by any way, but what I think and what anyone thinks is not really what David Moyes thinks. David Moyes will do what David Moyes wants to do. And I was thinking to myself, like, perhaps shifting, Bowen in the centre and getting someone like Cole Palmer, who's a goal threat himself. I was starting to become quite excited about the move. And then this has come out. Listen, I don't mind either way, if I'm honest with you. But the problem is, you know, it's not going to be something that's going to be resolved quickly. I'm going to say that. It's not going to be something. I think even Tony admitted to charges, I think he admitted it straight away pretty much, and it still took him sort of a year to get it down to, you know, the punishment. So is it going to affect, you know, the transfer next year? Is it going to sort of force his hand? Are we going to end up losing money on him? You know, if it takes a year or two, and then his contract's running out and he won't sign a new contract, are we going to be able to say it's all a mess? It's an absolute mess.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. It's going to be interesting to see if he plays on Sunday and how his head's going to be, because I think, we know, when you're linked with a potential move to Man City, I mean, credit to the guy. He's conducted himself well. He said he's going to be professional, and he has been. You had that opportunity, and something like this has sort of come out of nowhere and is in the, you know, basically could jeopardize that. It's going to be really interesting to see how it impacts his mood and mentality going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good point. Adrian Whitfield says, "I wonder how many players are being investigated but being hidden at the moment, as it's only come to light during the transfer window. I wonder if there's just a constant stream of people being investigated for these things. You know, obviously it gets highlighted because of a transfer, but is there just a constant stream of people being investigated and then them finding no wrongdoings, it never coming out? You know, I wonder if this is just an ongoing thing. Where they're just looking all the time. It's not, maybe it's not unusual."
Yeah. No, definitely. And it's just, I don't know, man. I was like you. I mean, to be fair, we've had this conversation, but I when the whole Man City link with Paqueta came about, I thought, you know what, we can't turn that money down. If we're talking in the region of 75 upwards, 80, 85, whatever, anything in that region, I think you have to consider taking it, based on the fact that the money we paid for him. But not only that, I never ever saw Paqueta as a forever player. I think the move was always potentially going to be a stepping stone for him. You know, and yeah, he's been wonderful, but let's face it, you know, he really came to light in the last 10 games.
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
And I think, you know, this season we went into it, all of us went into it, are still going into it, seeing him as our main man, because he is our main man. He's now the talisman for the team, and we should be building things around him. But we've seen big players come and go before, and we've been able to rebuild. And when you're talking about the sort of money that's been banded around, and plus the players that we've been linked with, I think, you know what, it would see perhaps a new style of play where we're not heavily reliant on one or two players. If you look at all the players who've been linked with, they're all ball carriers, whether they play out wide or whether they play in the 10. They're all people that can travel with the ball, retain possession, and there's a bit of pace about them, which is what us as a team have lacked for such a long time, is pace.
Somebody's saying, I'm just going to go into this in a minute, but somebody's saying it's apparently the investigation is being investigated. Is, I don't know how true this is, so someone please correct me if you've heard something else, or I'm just jumping the gun here, but this is what I'm hearing. It's due to the yellow card he got on Saturday.
Oh, really?
Apparently so. So it's due to the yellow card he got on Saturday. I think he got booked in the 94th minute, something like that. And they're saying that there was a lot of people being sort of suspicious activity in Brazil over the booking.
Right. The thing is,
if that is the case, I mean, that's a very fresh case, isn't it?
Yeah, literally. We'll have to wait on that before we pass judgment. But that's a very unique one, isn't it? That is, if you got people laying down big money, family members laying down big money for him to get a yellow card, that is that is beyond suspicious, isn't it?
Yeah, but then maybe they just thought he was a bit upset that day, They spoke to him and he was like fucking effing and blinding down the phone. You never know. Like, I don't know how you sort of prove these sort of things. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, like the guy said before, it's innocent until proven guilty. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out. But I guess when we all heard the news, there was basically sort of a raw smile, like, in terms of the earlier news, not like how it is now, but earlier on when we heard the deal's off, or there's there's only a 10% chance of it going through. Everyone was probably smiling. I know I was, but then I started to think beyond that. Okay, if we do get these signings in, or these alleged signings in, what's going to happen then? Because it would really, in order for those players to come in, someone will be unhappy because you can't fit them all in. Whether you play, a 4-2-3-1 or a fluid 4-3-3, it still means one or two is going to be unhappy.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a Betway account as well. That'd be very, very odd, wouldn't it? If they've got, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to think. Let's take some comments anyway. Dan should be joining us in a minute. Somebody has given us the next subject, so we'll get onto that in 2 seconds. But let's take these comments first. Leon Nikra says, Tony admitted to betting right from the start, and it's taken 14, 15 months. This could be an anti-West Ham agenda. I wonder if they give a longer ban because they'll say Tony was supposed to be a deterrent. Maybe. I don't know. Mac Hammer says, evening, lads. Don't know how true it is, but just seen a message that Man City have decided to pull out of the deal. I've heard he's on hold. It's not completely been pulled, I don't think, but it's that obviously there's something going on. Let's have a look. Next one. Innocent before proven guilty. These are only rumors, surely speculation. Absolutely. Obviously, you have to be investigated. Good news for us, says Paul Evans. Can't see how they can prove this one. Probably all made up. Not sure about that. Very hard to prove wrongdoing, and hate to think someone earning 100K a week would get himself involved in it. Sometimes it's not about himself getting involved in it. As I say, like, I think, if I remember correctly, I think Kieran Trippier got a 10-week ban for giving information to a friend that he was going to Atletico Madrid. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm pretty sure it was something like that. Gary 4479 just shows we know absolutely nothing about the big picture of WHUFC. I don't think it's something to do with West Ham, mate. It's a footballer thing. It's not West Ham. What do we lose? What do we lose if a player has a long suspension? Do we still pay salary? That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, you do, man. I think you do. Yep.
Richard Stevens says, hopefully they find nothing, but if he influenced games by helping throw results or gain cards, then he's as guilty as those that place the bets. Yeah, absolutely. Probably more so. Congrats. Enjoy parenthood. Never a dull moment for us just now. Here's hoping it gets sorted soon, says Graham Walt. Phil Brown says, Palmer will never come here because Moyes won't give him game time. Fair enough. Fair enough. Polly Walnuts, no one will touch him with a barge pole now. Steve WHU give Billy a thumbs up. I don't know why I started that. Phil Brown says, now we're trying to get Wahi. Just Google his name.
I mean, look, just on a couple of those points, though, I think this probably the spotlight's probably more on Man City than it is on our club. We're going to be looking at it as us, but it's more spotlight on them, I think, just due to all of the public eye being on them with their how their dealings, their money and their finances, and they're obviously doing their due diligence, which is why the plug has been pulled. But I think the whole innocent to proven guilty, totally. If we look at it really and truly, there is still a possibility that this is not dead. So at the moment, there's something going on every day with West Ham, man. The last couple of weeks, there's something going on. So I wouldn't be surprised if this does get sorted out and Man City get their guy. But then at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if he stays. You know,
Maybe a January thing.
Mm.
Kaiser Machine says if it's the yellow against Bournemouth, that looked dodgy.
Yes.
That's what I've heard. David Cleary Hughes says Trippier was banned for 10 weeks for tipping off people about his move to Spain. Tony got 8 months for placing 200 plus bets on games he wasn't involved in. If true Paqueta offence is worse than both, I would say so, because I think it comes into the category of match fixing, which would be, that could be years ban. Phil Brown says kicking cats is one thing, but punching women is something completely different. I have no idea what that is. Gary4479 says next subject to talk about is Antonio on that stupid podcast about Richarlison. The geezer can't trap a bag of cement. He's bringing more shame on our club with stupid comments. These are not needed. Right, we will get into that. Let me take the rest of the comments first. Wonder how many games players are being investigated while being hidden. We've talked about that. Just sold my car to Lucas Paqueta. Looked at the receipt and found it was on a betting slip. It was about him getting a yellow card in the Bournemouth game. All we need now is a kit man to throw a wobbler, says Steve. West Ham United football come. It never rains, it pours. Steve WHU City will want to distance himself from this as they have the charges pending for other stuff. Initial analysis shows that the day several new accounts were created by at Betway, account linked with people close to Qatar, with the users depositing the maximum amount allowed. I don't know how much that is in Brazil. Leon Nicholas says it is because of irregular betting in Brazil after the yellow on Saturday. So there we go. They seem to think it's that. If he's trying to be booked, why wait until the 94th minute? He should have been. He would have been at risk to being subbed off before then by Moyes. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's maybe something that might go in his favour. If Paqueta gets a ban, then we will need someone else. He's not going to get a ban anytime soon, I wouldn't imagine. I don't think it's, I think there's a lot to be investigated before he gets any sort of ban. Yellow cards will be an easy one to cheat on. How do you prove it, though? It's the refs handing out the cards. It's hard to prove. Actually started back on in March 12th versus Villa, apparently. There we go. It was a Betway count as well. Papers chat shit. It's too easy nowadays. You can bet on a player getting booked for a deliberate handball and come out winning at the bookies. Paul Evans says 94th minute, end of the game. Don't believe it. And there was a super chat from John Kai. He didn't say nothing, but he gave 199. Thank you very much. But yeah, let's go back to the Antonio thing. Right, let's find this where it is. I should have unstarred these as I went along.
So I think with that's something. We didn't talk about it on the pod, but we had a sort of discussion about it because it was kind of like fresh around the time when it was when it came out. So obviously Antonio and Callum Wilson do their podcast on the BBC 5 Live thing, and the whole Richarlison conversation came up again. Both of them got a bit of stick towards the end of last season because they made comments on the fact that Richarlison, he's taking off his top every time he's scoring goals disallowed. They're kind of mocking him. Richarlison wasn't too pleased about that, but I think the comments in the podcast this time around was around Antonio saying that, Richarlison is still, he's still not happy about it. And so as a result, Antonio spoke to Paqueta and said, what's up with your boy? What's going on, kind of thing. And he said Paqueta was like, you know what? I told him that's how you are, but that's how he is, and he's just not having it, basically. And then he said, like, the next time that we play each other, he's not going to shake his hand. And what Antonio was saying was, look, this is just banter, man. Like, it's not serious. It's just banter. Why is it taking it seriously? I mean, look, you can look at it two ways. To be honest with me, I don't really care. I can see it from both ways. Richarlison, it can be a bit of a sulk, but at the same time, I can understand him catching feelings if people are sort of like mocking him publicly, which, is then aired out to millions, not just in this country, but around the world, So I can understand it. But at the same time, you know, it's banter. I find some of that stuff insightful. I know it infuriates some people in terms of current players talking about current things, but at the same time, I find some of it insightful. Maybe if it was in different players that weren't associated with our club, we wouldn't be sort of caught up with it. But you know, a lot of people like don't really check for Antonio. So Antonio's like Marmite. He kind of divides the fan base. I think everyone respects him for what he's done. But then if he's not having a good game or a good period of time, people kind of lose their shit. Do you know what I mean? And that's how I see it anyway. And a lot of people kind of want him out and saying that he wants to leave and all that kind of stuff. But other than in January, I haven't really heard no comments from him. Unless anyone can say in the chat, I haven't heard him personally say that he's wanting to leave. We all know that
you had that shit just before the final.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is that everyone was like, you know what? Yeah, he wants to leave and he wants to leave and all that. But yeah, man, find me a quote, find me a comment where he said that wasn't after that wasn't from January, but present day. We know he's been linked with moves to Saudi Arabia and Wolves and Leeds and all this stuff, but I haven't heard anything from the player say anything personally. Whether he's angling for a move or not is a different thing, but I haven't heard everything from him. But a lot of people are saying that he's saying this and he's saying that. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Listen, I'm not going to go back over the Mikel stuff because you know that my feelings on it have been made quite public. I don't think people should be doing this until they're finished playing. I don't think he's got any business bringing out stuff like that, you know. And I'm very surprised that the club allow this sort of thing to happen, because when they've got players under contract, they do have, you know, this sort of control over what comes out in the media and all of that sort of stuff. Apart from, I think the only way around that is a personal deal with like another sports brand. But they do have control over what, you know, the interviews they do, and that's why it's like quite surprising that it catches the you know, the clubs offhand when they have, you know, instances like Lucas Fabianski, where they just go and talk to press, and you know, it's a foreign press, but mostly, you know, when they're in this country, it's controlled. So I've you know, to be honest with you, I don't give a shit if he says anything about Richarlison. I don't give a shit what he says about Richarlison. You know what I mean? Like, I do find it a little bit odd that, you know, it's all well and good, like bantering your mate or bantering this or bantering that, or having a little, you know, sly comment about someone. But, you know, when you don't really know that guy, and you know, I find that a bit odd that you would, because you don't know how he's going to take it, you know. I like a bit of rivalry in these games. You know what I mean? Like, I like a little bit of spiciness, and you know, all this Richarlison this and Richarlison that. Listen, if it comes to a straightener, I know I'm backing. You know what I mean? And it ain't Richarlison. You know what I mean? So, you know,
the thing is as well, Nicky, right on that point. Okay, so when Antonio and Wilson ribbed him the first time round, they did actually come out and apologize to him because he took it badly. So they apologized to him, and then obviously the conversation has come up again due to the fact that Richarlison is still not happy. So you can make a point saying, well, why are you bringing it up again? But I guess, you know, you can make a counter argument to say maybe he's bringing it up to be like, you know what, it's just banter, it's not personal. But hey, you know what? People don't like it, just don't listen to it. That's how I see it, innit? Like, don't listen to it, and don't get too caught up in it, man, because there's bigger things in the world.
Yeah, I definitely don't listen to it, but you know, I can see. Listen, I can see both points of view.
Definitely, yeah, me too.
Richarlison is a whingy bitch anyway.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, like, you know, you see him on a football pitch. You know, he's never happy. So, you know, I don't know. You know, there is sort of like questions about, you know, some of the sort of cultures as well. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know, it might be a cultural thing. You know, you don't do that in Brazil, or you don't do this, you don't do that, or whatever. I don't really know. Like, you know, there is countries in the world where if you don't burp after your meal, it's seen as rude. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't do that over here, but you know, maybe it's a real sign of disrespect. But I don't give a shit about Richarlison. I really don't. I really don't give a. I do think he's a whingy bitch. I do think he needs to lighten up a little bit, smile a little bit more, and he might actually do something in his fucking career. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it is what it is. What do you guys think? It should, but the question does still come around like that. There's a fly in here. Does he need to sort of pack this up for a little while? Listen, I don't think Mikel's going to be with us long. If I'm honest, I don't think
agreed.
It's long.
Agreed.
But should he be packing this up? This podcast, is it worth it? Is it worth upsetting people? Should he be concentrating on his football? It's not like he's fucking top of his game. You know what I mean? He struggles at times. There's a fucking fly in there. I can see it.
Look, Antonio is clearly angling the next part of his career, which he would probably want it to be in media. So therefore, he's covering his bases. He generally comes across well when he talks on the mic, whether it be for a post-match interview or if it's or featuring on something else. He tends to come across well, and he tends to come across likable. If you're an opposing fan and you hear Antonio, people say good things about him because they don't have that sort of attachment that we do. So he probably will go into some kind of media going forward. So as he said, his contract is running down, so I can't see him being with us too long anyway.
Right, I've got the next subject, I think, but let's go for little comments about this. Richarlison and Antonio couldn't hit a barn door. Be a bad to watch a straightener. Julianne Paul says, someone in the team told me that the Lionesses are going to win 2-1. World Cup fix. If that's a bet, on they get banned. No, it's just speculation until we win 2-1. I don't know what you're talking about there, Joe, but if they do win 2-1, you'll be under investigation. Eltel, Richarlison has been the same facial expression, whether it's been blatantly hacked down or he's hacked someone else. That's why I call him a pug. Fair play. Conspiracy theory, a club insider tipped someone off at the FA to investigate Paqueta to stop any transfer this summer as player head has been turned. I think they wanted the deal, mate. I don't think it'd be anything to do with the club. I think they wanted the deal to be done. I think, the sort of money they was talking about, I think it would have been well within their interest to take the money. Arch Barley says Brazilians are the biggest wind-up of each other, need thick skin for their banter. Richarlison is an absolute bellend and a crap footballer. Fair play. Tristan, don't come at us, please. Could see Antonio going on I'm a Celebrity when his contract runs out. Why not? It'd be entertaining, I think, on something like that. Do you know what? For all I do say about him, and the stuff that he said that's wound me up that he shouldn't be saying, he's an entertaining guy. He's a very fun-loving, sort of like laughy, jokey guy.
Yeah.
Antonio is the biggest ego in world football.
Interesting.
Love the guy for what he's done for us, but sometimes he just needs to shut his gob. Fair
enough.
Okay. Next subject. The Glazers. Now, again, you need to get us up to date on this one. Have decided not to sell Man United. Now, there was questions and rumours flying around that if they did decide not to buy Manchester United and the Manchester United deal was not on, it could be us that gets that gets taken over by the same consortium. So if the Glazers decide not to sell, could the door be open for us to get taken over?
Interesting. I mean, what are your views on that, though?
Mixed bag. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know until it happens. There are human rights issues about that sort of thing. I don't know the group themselves. I haven't looked into them, but I'm just saying, like, I would be a hypocrite if I sat here and criticised, the Newcastle one. I'm not criticising Newcastle fans, not at all. But we've done videos on this. Is it right to turn a blind eye to that sort of thing? That should you mix politics and football? Can you mix politics and football without, does our moral go out the window when that sort of thing happens? Like, as I said, like someone said to me last week when I said about what, the the Saudi Arabians taking over at Newcastle.
Mm.
You can't mix politics and football. I said, all right, then what happens if Adolf Hitler takes over West Ham? What's the difference? That sort of thing. So you have to look into politics at certain. But I don't know. I don't know what they've been up to. I'll have to look into it. But fuck's sake. Yeah, I think we're heading in that direction, mate. And I think anyone that doesn't get taken over by that sort of rich ownership is going to get left behind. And
yeah,
I
think
it's sad. I find it sad.
Yeah, because it's one of those things that really tests people's moral standpoint. I know we had a conversation that was similar about this months ago when we was looking at potential people that were expressing potential interest in taking over our club, and we sort of had that conversation. Well, if people, Saudi people or whoever, were to take over our club and then sort of like build the community by putting up, doing all these infrastructure things that create new jobs and all that sort of stuff, what would our personal views be? And it's a real tricky one, because when you're in a multi-million-pound business like this, football, unfortunately, money always talks. So the people that are morally headstrong tend to get outnumbered after a period of time. If we look at things that have taken place recently, so Henderson for Liverpool, and the whole campaign around LTBGQ and all that sort of stuff, in terms of he was the poster boy and sort of like going against that and everything what's going on. But then look at the team he goes to, which then contradicts that. So then you get, when you start mixing politics and sport, it's a real murky game. It's a dangerous game. And then if you get wrapped up and involved in that, once you've sort of like accepted whatever the situation is, you're then indebted to do whatever's being asked of you. So someone like Henderson, he'll be contracted to sort of promote the league that he's now in, saying it's the best thing since sliced bread, because he's obligated to do so.
Yeah. I mean, but as fans, I mean, can you do that? For players, I think it's different, because listen, if I was, there's not a lot of places now to go in terms of football wise where you can earn that sort of money and play at the top of your game, where it's not being taken over by this sort of consortium of people that perhaps have murky, Chelsea, for instance, 20 years under a Russian billionaire, which is his tenure ended in shame. There's not a lot of places where you can do that. So I suppose they have to turn a blind eye to it, unless someone wants to start making a stance. I don't know, but it's one of them things, isn't it? Where like, is anyone going to be brave enough? Is anyone going to be walking away from that sort of money? Is anyone going to drop leagues and costing themselves their England play? I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is until someone does that. But as fan, you have got a choice, haven't you? You have got a choice to stop buying their product or supporting them in whatever ways it may be. You have got a choice to do that.
I mean, look, if we take the two clubs you mentioned, so Newcastle and Chelsea, there's no doubt that over the years there have been hardcore fans and season ticket holders that have refused to renew their ticket or even watch or get involved with anything that has happened with their club since those takeover deals or monies come in. But then both clubs have moved on, and one has seen a lot of success for the last 15 plus years, and the other one's sort of turning the corner and rolling back the years and potentially could be the next big thing. So you've got those people, the headstrong people that as say, what, I'm done, I'm going to support my local team or whatever. But then then the mass, you got the other side of it, where you got all these other people that are just following their team and then seeing this sort of new breed of success develop. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. Let me just somebody asked me this earlier, which was funny. I wanted to say, but limited to words. Would West Ham chat? No idea. Chat talk smack about another fan channel publicly? No, as they will see each other at match day. So why are players? I mean, I have done that.
I was going to
If
say
I'm
that.
honest, I have done that. Like, I don't really give a shit about it. If I think it's, if I think it's needed or it's valid, I won't just talk shit for the sake of talking shit. Recently I've spoke a lot of shit about the boys at We Are Tottenham TV, for instance. Bumped into them at an event this week. Was it awkward a little bit? But it is what it is. They know what I said. If they want to say something about it, then I'll answer it. No problem. But we ended up getting on, quite well. And I've done that video with him last year, and there's been a lot of stuff like, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's like, you either, own it or you don't. And I think if you're willing to say it, then you've got to be willing. Like, I would never turn around and say something to someone that I wouldn't say to their face. Yeah. Because like, what would be the point with it? Like, it's all well and good me sitting here saying, "Oh yeah, this," and if it come up to it, and he come up to me and said, "What'd you say?" I said, "Well, nothing." What's the point in that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not hiding anything. If I'm willing to say it publicly, I'm willing to say it to their face. It's not, but that's the way I am. I know some people are different, but
yeah. What's the point in having a fan channel if you're not going to be? Hello, good evening, gents. I was jumping right into the deep end there. I was just going to say, there's no point having a fan channel if you're not going to be honest about the players that play for your team. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to be truthful. Abuse is another thing, separate aside. But if you feel a player's not playing well, you have to be honest to say. Otherwise, what are people coming for? Like, if you're just sitting there and blowing smoke up players because, we have to, I wouldn't say this to about fan channel. We're not a fan channel. We don't review fan channels. Like I said, even though Nicky has said he's honest, we review West Ham and the games, and we talk about them honestly. And if a player's had a bad game, we got to say that. Like I've always said, this channel is for the fans. We don't make it for players. If players want to watch it, that's fine. They're welcome to. But
guys do watch it, by the way.
Yeah, they do watch it. But we can't sit here and go, we can't say this in case the players watch it. No, it's for the fans. This is what the content's for. So you got to be honest. Honesty is the best policy.
Listen, at the end of his time here, I knew Declan Rice's family personally, but it wouldn't never sway me from criticising him or, saying something that I didn't mean or being disingenuous. I suppose you get a natural sway because you've got a natural sort of insight into what's going on in their personal life. But if I thought he was being a twit, I'd say he's being a twit. That's what we're here for. No point.
Yeah, 100%.
There is people that that say things to sort of sway. The club is a big one, man. Like, you have to be careful. Like, I'm not going to sit here naming any channels that do, but that's not my business. But there are channels that will sway towards a certain subject and have swayed because they've been told not to do this, or if they do this, they will get this, or they will get that. And I can hand on heart say that there is not one thing that I've ever done or said on this channel that has been influenced by someone saying, well, if you say this, we'll make this favourable for you, or you make that. In fact, like, I can quite honestly say on record, we've been offered things and turned them down over things like that. You know what I mean? Like, we've been offered, nights at this and nights at that, or, free tables at this and free tables at that. And I've said, no, we would never, we would never take anything like that because it's not what we are. It's not what we do. It's not what we're here for, We're here to tell the truth, whether they like it or not. And fucking trust me, they don't like it, when the truth has been told, especially when it doesn't, thing it in. But there is times when they will try and control the narrative. And, that's why we are not very welcome in some spaces because we don't get control. We talk about what needs to be spoke about, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. So there we go.
Yeah. It's gone quiet.
No, I thought we were talking about something else. What was we talking about anyway?
Do you know what? Dan, let's talk about some of the transfer speculation that we're having. I mean, there's a couple of players that it seems like things are really advancing in terms of talks of potentially taking place, or they have taken place. Some of these potential transfers were on the back of the Lucas Paqueta situation. So I'm interested to kind of get your thoughts on where do you think those deals lie now?
Yeah, well, we heard that, like the Kudos deal, for example, we was gonna entertain the possibility of signing him regardless of Paqueta leaving or staying, right? Which I think is positive. And apparently, Stide 10 has been, he flew over there and he was having talks and was hoping to bring him back. And I think we are starting to see Stide 10 really flex his muscles now and really, take the bull by the horns. And we're seeing the benefit of that, of having a director of football go out and do what he does. It's not just identifying players, but he's going out and negotiating and getting these deals over the line. Like Alvarez, you see him flying back with Alvarez on the plane, right? Before, it used to be like Moyes would identify the players and like a Sullivan or Brady are negotiating it and stuff would fall apart because he wants to negotiate with David Sullivan. We've heard them called the Dildo Brothers by like Sporting's owners, and now we've got a serious guy doing the job, and that excites me. The Maguire thing looks like it's off, which everyone knows I wasn't the biggest fan of Maguire. I wasn't pulling for him. I wasn't calling for him. I think we've dodged a bullet because his attitude, I think, to me, seems, very poor. Very, very poor. It seems to be more focused on that and rather about playing. It's going to cost him his England career. So, yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction. What I say, I want to just wait until we get it over the line, get those deals over the line. If we can do that, boy, Stuyton, he's looking good in my eyes.
Definitely, and I think with the Kudus one in particular, I think that would be a fantastic signing for so many reasons. I mean, the fact that Alvarez is here as well, that would be good for him. But as I was saying to Nikki earlier, the players we've been linked with or been having these conversations with, they're all good ball carriers, whether they're out wide or whether they play in that 10 or even up top. They're all people that got a bit of pace and can travel with the ball, which is something that we've always lacked. So even playing in sort of like a low block counter-attacking style that we do, we've always needed that outlet or someone that can relieve pressure by holding on to the ball, maybe taking on a player and then playing someone in. And that's what you're getting with someone like him. My only thing is, if we were to get him and the whole Paqueta thing is irons out and they're both here, it'll be interesting to see where he would play and what kind of system we would play, due to the fact that they both kind of want to play in that advanced 10 role, or in attacking third at least, which therefore
is a good 8 though. I don't know about you. I still think he can. I mean, we saw it like in the Bournemouth game. He was getting stuck in defensively, putting tackles in, winning the ball back, and driving forward. Like, I think he has so much to offer there. And we was having this debate. I don't know, interest what you guys think. Right, I was having this debate on Twitter because we looked at it, right? Okay, so if you're playing a 2 there, you've got Alvarez and Paqueta and Kudus, right? Where does that leave Ward-Prowse? That's the debate, right? Do we, shoehorn Kudus out on the wing, which worries me about we get another Fornal situation, right? To fit in Ward-Prowse, or do we just try and play and realize we have a squad, play the best players in their strongest positions? That's the conundrum. And it's a good conundrum to have.
It's a good conundrum to have, but at the same time, and this is what I'm saying about not being short-sighted about it. It's like, as soon as the Paqueta deal has gone cold, I was then thinking about that prospect of, okay, now we've almost got too many players, and it will be a situation where I feel with how Moyes is, Ward-Prowse is nailed on to play, right? And so I just feel he's nailed on. So if you are going to go with the 2 holding, probably from a Moyes point of view, it's going to be Alvarez and Ward-Prowse. And as I'm saying, that's where it's a problem. The only really way around it, there's 2 options, but one is what you said, is you stick one out wide, which is not really the thing. That's not going to be the good thing to do. But you could have like a fluid 4-3-3, which therefore means, the front 3 and maybe the 2 on the flanks of the sitting 3 can sort of all interchange perhaps in the game. So you could kind of have some in-game sort of fluidity. But this is the thing. This is what I was kind of like talking about with Nicky that I was potentially concerned with, because, you know, with all the ones we've been linked with, there's only really the one striker, away from the Montpellier striker, that we've been linked with, that looks like it could actually happen. I mean, from what I'm hearing, he's been left out of the squad for tomorrow's game. So there's talks of that deal looking like it's going through, which again, it would be a great signing, because it would bring us pace and someone that can just sort of turn it around, get past the line.
Looks like he would fit us to a T. Like, from what I see, he looks like, you know, this type of striker, the type of forward that we have been crying out for since, you know, Sacco. Like,
yes,
that's the vibe I get. Obviously, there's baggage about that we have to then reconcile our feelings with, of how do we feel. I look at him, he's still a very young man. He's 20 years old. You know, obviously he was at school when a lot of these things happen, and I would never excuse these things. And do you feel like there's a growth opportunity? Do you feel like that's it? He should be, his career should be done and dusted from before it gets started? Or is there a chance now where you go, okay, he's coming to a new country, he's 20 years old now he's becoming a man, does he get a chance? You know,
where do you stand on okay, so you've got that, which is, they're pretty damning reports apparently. You know, I haven't looked too much into it. Maybe I'll look into it tomorrow. But where do you stand on Greenwood? Greenwood's still a young man. You know, he hasn't been sharp or anything. It's you know, does he get another chance? Because there's a lot of people saying, like, no, he doesn't get another chance. You know, I don't know. I don't know where I stand on this one, to be honest.
It's a real tough, deep, complex you know, thing, and I haven't even decided how I feel about it. I feel like the difference with, and what has made the reaction to Greenwood so visceral, you know, it happened during his playing years, and we had video evidence. That video was really harrowing to watch, and the audio that we heard, and I think it affected people a lot. And it just, everything that about it since, I don't know. I haven't seen it seemed like covering up. I haven't seen the repentance and all of this side.
Well, I think, listen, with Greenwood, I think if Greenwood was totally innocent, and he was totally innocent, and it was all blown out of proportion, he'd be playing for Manchester United.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. There's video and audio there. That's the problem. Is there's not just allegations that you can then go innocent till proven guilty, or you know, well, they could have lied. Like we heard the stuff, we see the pictures, we see all of that stuff. So I like you, I know what the allegations that were made against El Wahi was. I don't know the depth of the proof. I don't know the I don't know how deep it goes. I only know what he was accused of. So I can't speak too much. That aside, because like I said, we're not an expert. Playing wise, like I said, I think it would be a great signing. I really do. For a player perspective, all of that, Wikipedia, like I said, Wikipedia reports and all that out aside.
Saka's a great comparison, though. It's kind of like going back to that sort of profile and you know what I mean, player that can sort of do, you know, he's got the all-round sort of game. Yeah, no, I think that would be good. What's your views, fellas, around, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the prospect of, depending on signings, Bowen sort of moving inside and playing maybe as down the middle as a striker or a false nine, or whatever you want to call it. What's your views on that?
No, I wouldn't do that. It's just, you know, we've seen this happen before. I know it's worked before, but I think Bowen's best attributes is getting up the wing, you know, taking on the fullback. When you move in the middle, it's a lot more isolated, especially the way we play. He ain't really got the strength to be holding people off. He hasn't got the attributes of, you know, say an Arnautovic or an Antonio. I think it'd be a massive mistake. I think his career would suffer.
I mean, I think there's cause to try that, because I do think Bowen does come in, like, drift inside a lot. and I see him, in games when off the ball, he's just there in the middle, and a lot of the time when it comes back to someone bombing down the wing, he has to come from the center and try and chase and get back to the wing to help support like Sufal or something. Whether he could play there out and out, and that's another question. Whether like that drift in and out is what works for him, we don't know. But I think the fact that he spends so much time there, if we did, we should be signing another right winger anyway. We need the depth there. So if we did sign another one and we had a game where we could try it, whether it's a European game or a cup game, I'd be open to it. Or there was also the talk of him like in a 2 up top situation. I think it's definitely an option. And if Ings, for example, if you had a Bowen and Ings, that could be something we could potentially try, because Ings, like I said, he needs a second, really, he needs a strike partner that helps him.
Yeah, so Bowen like becomes the legs of a 2. I can see him in a 2. I know what you mean about playing central. The thing is, I'm not dead against it, but at the same time, it has been tried a few times. Well, it's tried a couple of times over the last couple of years. Really, it hasn't really worked for me. I think if we were to play the way we play, where you kind of need that hustle and bustle, that man that's going to hold up. Bowen's not really that guy. He's like, it would be more like an Owen where he needs to run in behind. If a ball's played, like a through ball's played, and he runs in, a bit like the goal he scored in the final. If it's something like that, runs coming from deep and he just angles it, then yeah. But we don't always play. We don't really play that style of football.
Yeah, absolutely. Julianne Paul said just on the event earlier, West Ham Fan TV, are they showing the female World Cup as a pre-match build-up at this event, or just ignoring it? Because girls do sometimes matter. They don't sometimes matter. They do matter. Absolutely, they're going to be showing the female World Cup. England are in the final of the World Cup. Something to be proud of. Something to shout off the rooftops. We're not ignoring any girls. Absolutely. We wish the Lionesses all the luck in the world. They won the Euros. They could be the world champions.
Absolutely.
It's at 10 a.m., isn't it, the game?
I think it's 11. I think it's 11 o'clock kickoff. But yeah, absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. You know what I mean? Like, do not let anyone say that girls don't matter. Right, let's start wrapping this up then, guys. Chelsea tomorrow. No, it's not. It's Sunday. Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts?
Look, my thoughts on it. I think I did a little post on this earlier on, but my prediction for this game, I think it will be a draw. I think it will be an exciting game. The games normally against Chelsea are generally tight. They're kind of like a home and away affair. They kind of favour the home side, and I think we've only lost 1 in 6 against them at home. And I feel a lot of people.
We've only won one. We've only won 1 in 6.
No, we've only lost. We've only lost 1.
Lost 1.
Yeah, only lost one in the last 6 times we played them at home. But with that being said, Chelsea, yeah, fair enough. They had a great performance in their first game against Liverpool, but they've made 2 major signings that are one of them at least in Caicedo is likely to start, I reckon, with Enzo Fernandez. But I think let's not get too carried away with them. It's a London derby, so both teams are going to be up for it. It's our first home game. It's either for me going to be a score draw, like a 1-1, or it will be like the game last season at Stamford Bridge where it was tight and we played really well, but then end up losing by 1 goal. It's going to be something like that for me. But there's one thing that I'm interested in with this game in terms of our approach is it's whether Moyes tries to match their system like he's done a few times when they've come to our ground. He's then gone free at the back and matched them up and then changed it halfway through. It's whether he does that or whether he just plays his own game, because we've got that midfield dilemma. You've got everyone that played in midfield at Bournemouth played really well, and then you've got Ward-Prowse and Alvarez that are going to be chomping at a bit to start. Ward-Prowse might get the start. Alvarez might not. It depends how it's been viewed, how he's gotten in training. But if they both come in, then who are you taking out?
That's the big question. Yeah, because I can't see Alvarez starting just because of the fact that he doesn't seem to have a preseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't start. I can see Ward-Prowse coming in.
I don't think he does. I don't think he does.
You don't think?
Nah.
I think at the very least, if he don't start, he comes off the bench, Ward-Prowse. I think we will see Ward-Prowse get minutes in this game. But I don't expect to see too much of a change from the Bournemouth team. So if it would just be that one change. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, I feel like it's one of them games now because we go into it and we're expecting the worst, but I feel like we would exceed our expectation. We usually step up in these games. Again, in these London derbies, especially against Chelsea, like you said, our record ain't too shabby. They've picked up some injuries. I think Rich James has got injured, which is mad after they just made him captain. I was saying this online. Why would you make that guy your captain? And apparently the vice captain is Chilwell, who's equally injury prone. Yeah. So I said it was like us making Andy Carroll a captain. So yeah, I cannot definitely see a draw. Obviously, a battering wouldn't surprise me. Just because we're still not there in terms of putting the squad together, getting the new players in. We're still behind everyone else. We're still weaker than we were last season currently in terms of the team.
I think everyone's fearing Chelsea. And look, they was okay last week. They was decent last week, but they're still making signings.
Yeah,
left, right, and centre. Like, you know, new signings and these big money signings don't necessarily mean better. You know what I mean? Like, they take time to get integrated, and you know, I don't think it's going to be like. I don't think it's going to be a thrashing. I really don't. I think I'm going to go for a West Ham win. To be honest, I'm going to go for a West Ham win. I'm going to go for a little squeaky 1-0 or something like that. You know, it's you know, I don't think, you know, as I said, I don't think big signing, like famous last words, will probably get battered 5-0. But, you know, I don't think, you know, these big money signings coming in and you know, like you see it last year when they had all these signings coming in at once, doesn't necessarily work. You know, it doesn't necessarily work, and they've got to get used to the system. And if they try and squeeze them in, you know, I don't know.
I think it's important to get a win at this stage with the fixtures we've got coming up. You know, that Bournemouth game was a game we really need to try to look to put a marker and get a win, because Brighton away, mate, I don't give us much of a hope. And then we got Liverpool and Man City up in the mix, so a win, and then we can then look at Luton and Sheffield United with a bit more confidence. Okay, we've got the 3 points under our belt, so there's less pressure to these games. We look at Luton, we have to win. We've got to get our first win at Luton. We have to get our first win at Sheffield United. We've got that 3 points, and we go there and have a little bit of pressure off. Do you know what I mean? I think that's important, because Anfield and Man City at home, I don't give us any chance really in those games. I know, negative, all of that stuff. So if we can win tomorrow, Sunday, then that's big. But yeah, I can definitely see a draw. I would agree with that. A 1-1 sounds about right to me.
Here's the thing, right? So let's picture it. So 93rd minute injury time. The game's 1-1, right? So Ward-Prowse has started, you know, and the rest is kind of like the usual suspects. We get a penalty. All right, so it's a penalty to us. Last kick of the game. Who's stepping up? Ben Rama, Ward-Prowse.
Benny.
When Ben Rama, no hesitation. Never missed one.
Benny's the penalty taker until you know, Ward-Prowse has got earning stripes in that, man. He's never missed a penalty. So
yeah.
You know, there's not one person, I think, in the Premier League that I'd rather step up and take a penalty rather than Benny.
Yeah,
I really
taken
wouldn't.
the mantle from Nobes. You know,
he's had the pressure. He's taken the pressure penalties. You know, the Man City one. You know, that was a very important one that he took there.
Arsenal,
one in the final. You know what I mean?
Final, Arsenal.
Yeah, he's like it's just. It seems like he does not feel the pressure, or he just copes with it really well.
Yeah.
You know, so this is Dean who comes on our channel in a fan cam. That's what I need to watch back. So he's just seen the Paqueta yellow. It's shocking. He's finished, because apparently it come from a goal kick, and I don't remember it. Right, I was caught up in the game, but apparently I need to go back and watch this yellow and see how bad it is. But I hope at least he'll start for. I'm confident he'll start Sunday. The Ivan Toney thing took a long time. This will take a long time. So, but yeah, it's Benny all day, man. He's a great penalty taker.
All day long.
But yeah, selection headaches are what we need this season. So he's going to be competing for his spot. And yeah, Europe. Yeah. When's the draw, by the way? Do you guys know?
Soon, September, I think. Beginning of September.
September, yeah.
Maybe it's the end of August, actually.
It's got to be soon, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
don't we usually play in August? Didn't we play in August the last time we was in Europa?
Well, yeah, no, there's games being played now. Like, there's literally games being played now for both conference and Europa.
Yeah, the playoffs being played. So
yeah.
Okay,
well,
let's
by
have a
the
look.
way,
September
what's the thoughts
1st.
on that third kit
September
leak?
1st.
What's that?
Is
September 1st. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see that third kit leak, by the way? I just wanted to get your thought because I
fuck me.
It's horrendous.
Do you know what? I haven't seen it, you know. What color is it?
It's like it's London Stadium branding, you know, like the London Stadium blue. So it's got on the bottom, it's got like a pattern of the top of the stadium, and it's that London Stadium blue, and it just looks so corporate and London Stadium-y, like LLDC. It just makes me feel like that. And I'm like, why are we?
Harry Kane's just scored for Bayern Munich.
Has he?
By the way,
first goal on his road to his first ever trophy.
Yeah,
there you go. It's good. I feel like I can be because I think Harry Kane seems like a great bloke, but Spursness always I couldn't get on with that. So now I can appreciate him.
It's true.
So good luck to him. Good luck to him. But
okay,
hopefully Spurs suffer.
We'll be wrapping it up there then. Once again, look, I'm going to post it in the comments here. The link. No, that's not the link. It's in the comments anyway. I'll post it in the link in the description down below for the Orbit. Go and get your tickets for the Orbit. They're going to be showing a Women's World Cup final there. So Fan Zone's going to be there every game, and we'll be milling around there before the game. So do come and see us before the game at the Orbit, and we'll have a pint together. Absolutely. Go and get our merchandise if you want to go on our store. Go on the podcast this week. There's a competition running at the moment. So if you're a patron to that, as I said, there's a competition for a customized TNT Sports jersey, Nike jersey, that was customized for our friend Mr. Mina. You'll know him as the guy that sprayed the Haller mural on the wall when he joined. Very talented artist, big West Ham fan. And he done us a custom jersey, and we're giving that away on the podcast. So go and check that out. If you're new around here, subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow with a preview, an opposition preview for Chelsea. And that's it from us. Thanks, guys. One thing left to say.
Come on, you irons.